The mind of a champion. Philippians, the 2nd chapter. Begin reading at verse 1. Ready? Therefore, if there is any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy by being like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. The mind of a champion. The Bible has much to say about your mind. As a man thinketh, so is he. Say that with me. As a man thinketh, so is he. That means if you see yourself as a winner, you will be. If you see yourself as a loser, you will be. If you see yourself as defeated, you will be. There's a phrase that you need to write down on a card and put on your refrigerator, and it goes like this. The me I see is the me I'll be. The me I see is the me I'll be. So how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? The mind of a champion is the palace of persistence. Listen to this true story. A white-haired 88-year-old man stood on the stage, answering questions from a vast and educated audience. When he had finished, the audience stood and gave him a thunderous standing ovation. They cheered him loudly as he walked off the stage with his silver cane. His father died when he was 5 years of age. He quit school at 16. At the age of 17, he had lost 4 jobs. He was married by 18, and by 19, he was a father. His wife left him when he was 20 years of age with their baby daughter. Between the ages of 18 and 24, he had worked on the railroad and failed. He had farmed some acreage and went broke. He put his pressure cooker in the back of his car when everything seemed lost. He applied for law school and was rejected. He became an insurance salesman and failed again. The only thing that he could really do was to cook. He had a lot of time to think about while cooking long hours in a small, hot cafe. He grieved over his wife and his baby. He begged his wife to return, and she refused. He loved his daughter so much that when he was off of work, he would drive his car to where she lived, sit in his car, and watch her play in the front yard. Eventually, his wife returned, and they started working in a cafe together until he was 65. At 65, they were just making it by. But then it happened. The state constructed an interstate highway that bypassed his town and his cafe. His business vaporized overnight. Not willing to quit, not willing to surrender, not willing to throw his sucker in the dirt and just give up, he demonstrated old-fashioned persistence. He put his pressure cooker in the back of his car and went from town to town showing restaurants how to fix his very special kind of fried chicken. That 65-year-old salesman became known to the world as Colonel Sanders, king of the Kentucky Fried Chicken empire. Listen, at 65, he was a monumental, lifelong, washed-up failure. At 88, he was a multi-millionaire, bowing to standing ovations all over the world. That's persistence. He did it. You can do it. Now, here's what I really like about that story. All of these doctors telling you that if you eat fried chicken, it'll kill you. It killed him when he was 88. Eat a bucket full this week and enjoy yourself. Let the grease drip out both sides of your mouth and have a biscuit covered in butter. That's just a by the way. Persistence will always prevail. Say that with me. Persistence will always prevail. James 1:3 says the testing of your faith produces perseverance. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. The thing to try when all else fails is again. Giving it another try rather than trying to find an alibi. The person who really wants to do something finds a way. The person who does not finds an excuse. There's something in our DNA that applauds an individual who refuses to accept defeat, who won't give up, who always comes back. Calvin Coolidge, the 30th President of the United States, said, and I quote, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb." He continues by saying, "Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts." And let me tell you something, if it was true then, it is doubly true now. Persistence, he said, and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press on," has solved and will always solve the problems of the human race. End of quote. Press on. Press on. Say it with me. Press on. Press on. Press on. A true story. On a freezing February morning in 1916, two young boys, 7-year-old Glenn and his older brother Floyd, left their small Kansas home to walk to school on a very bitterly cold day. It was their chore that morning to start the fire in the pot-bellied stove at the schoolhouse so that the classroom would be warm when the other students arrived. On this morning, everything went according to plan as they poured the fuel into the firewood inside the stove. When they lit the fire, the stove exploded and the flames engulfed the two boys. Someone had filled the fuel can with gasoline and not kerosene. The fire killed Floyd and left Glenn burned from head to foot, clinging to life. As Glenn lay in the hospital bed following the tragic accident, he heard the doctors in the hall tell his mother, "Glenn is not going to survive. He cannot possibly. He has just been burned too badly." The 7-year-old boy heard that, and he said there was a will that was born in him to live. Later, the doctors said they were going to have to amputate both his legs, which had been severely burned, because there were not going to be anything from that day forward but a source of pain and infection. Glenn begged his mother not to let the doctors cut off his legs. His mother prevailed. Glenn went home from the hospital weeks later, and when the bandages were removed, he realized he had lost all the toes on his left foot that had been burned off. He had the mind of a champion. Months later, he was wheeled to the front yard, where he forced himself out of his wheelchair. He braced himself on the white picket fence that was in front of his house and taught himself how to shuffle and walk again. And then he turned weeks later to take baby steps, and then retrained himself how to walk. After he mastered walking, Glenn started running and discovered that his legs did not hurt as he ran, because the nerve endings had been burned in the fire. In high school, he became a miler, and he set a state record in that event. He attended the University of Kansas and set a new NCAA record for the mile. He became known as the Kansas Flyer. In 1932 and 1936, he represented America in the Olympics. In 1934, 18 years after hearing the doctors in the hall say he will never live and he certainly will never walk again, Glenn Cunningham, considered to be one of the greatest milers of all time, ran into history in the Madison Square Garden, breaking the world record for the fastest indoor mile. Persistence did that for Glenn Cunningham. It'll do it for you. The person who prevails is the person who refuses to give up. Life is a struggle, just as an athletic competition is a struggle. But in every battle, it is the mental outlook that is the key to your success or to your defeat. The person with the mental toughness is the person who will triumph. Again, James 1:3. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. The man who can get up one more time than the time he's knocked down is going to be the winner. Being knocked down is not a problem, but staying down is a problem. Get up, because success begins by getting up one more time than you've been knocked down.